All right. Hello, my name is Justin Kern. I'm a communications officer with the American Red Cross, and lucky enough to be deployed out here to help folks during the wildfires out in California. I'm in Yuba City today. And, when we talk about the wildfires, it's massive. What has happened over the last few weeks is massive destruction. More than 2 million acres have burned so far. It's September 14th when we're recording this. Many people loss of life, loss of everything, and movements of people even across state lines we're seeing as they evacuate and flee from these really catastrophic wildfires. So we wanted to, you hear about the big picture a lot, but wanted to share a little bit more from the local level. So being here in the Gold Country region with the American Red Cross, wanted to kind of localize, bring some information on what's happening on the ground here, put some faces to some of that work and some of the help that's happening, and share some of the great partners that are involved, as well as ways you can get involved at home if you're watching this. So joining me today, I'll let both Nuriddin and Gary introduce themselves. Gary, why don't you go first?
Sure. My name is Gary Strong, and I'm the CEO of the California Gold Country region of the American Red Cross. It's an area that represents 26 counties, about a third of the the northern part of California.
And then Nuriddin?
Yeah, my name is Nuriddin Ziadinov. I'm the executive director here in Northern California chapter of American Red Cross. And it seems like right now, every single county that I do have is affected by these disasters. I have 14 counties that I get to cover so far. And, here I am actually, I apologize for the noise, but I am at the Butte County Emergency Operations Center.
Working hard, and for context too, Gary is actually, his backdrop is one of the offices, but he is at his house, and there's a little bit of rope-a-dope there. And Nuriddin's picture behind him, he is not under threat of fire right now. But that is a picture from. You want to talk about that picture briefly?
Yeah, actually, this is the picture that I took the first day the Bear Fire at that moment it was called Bear Fire. Now North Complex blew up, and these are the skies that sadly hundreds of thousands of people woke up to that morning.
So very scary, very real here on the ground. And so to kind of paint a little bit, put some detail and context behind that for where we are. Nuriddin, you've had a really great chance of putting together some maps that I know we get a chance to see a lot of mornings. But can you kind of pull something up and share with anyone watching here, kind of where the resources are, where the fires are, and kind of what's going on the ground here?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share my screen real quick. And first off, let's start with just taking a look at the scope of disaster that we're talking about. Just to give you an idea, in California is very well known about making fires, but this fire right here that you see, it's called August Complex. It's the biggest fire in California history. It's over, I believe it's almost 790,000 acres. So luckily there's not a lot of evacuations happening in this fire, but it is causing a lot of air quality issues for us in this area. But the areas that we are concerned about, there are a couple of them. Let me start with the north. In north we have, so this fire right here is called Slater Fire and Devil Fire. If you're looking at it, you can see that it's already crossing into Oregon, which the state's already battered with fires itself, with 10% of the population under evacuation. But here we have a community called Happy Camp. If we zoom in a little bit, we will be able to see the town of Happy Camp that we approximately we lost about 150 to 200 homes there. In a community that is maybe 650 households, that's a significant impact. That's a loss to the local economy, to the county that's already very rural, so that it has a significant impact. And so that's the fire that we're dealing with up north. Now let me come down a little, and here's another fire that we're dealing with, the Red Salmon Complex, that we have some evacuations for here, and we have folks working in Humboldt and in Crescent City and Del Norte to make sure those evacuated get a safe place to go to. And the main area right now that we've seen, sadly, in Butte County, that is, it's sad to say, but it's very used to fires like this. A campfire that happened just 2 years ago, almost to date. is actually not too far from this. Everyone knows about the town of Paradise by this point, but it is right here. And Concow, which was another community that was evacuated significantly during the campfire, is under evacuation right now as well to some extent. So we know that there's a lot of homes that are destroyed and a lot of households, and the fire actually is in the eastern corner of the town of Oroville. So there's a significant impact to little communities like Bear Creek and Forest Ranch that are, backbone of a lot of our rural communities. That's where our folks live. That's where our cabins are, a lot of us. So that's the kind of the scope of the fires that we are dealing with right now. So that's a little bit about the fires themselves. Now let's switch gears a little bit and talk, what are we doing? This is, if you're able to see, is a scope of our service. Every single blue dot means a hotel that if we are working with our partners at the state level that we've been able to acquire to put people up. And one of the things that I have to mention is that every single blue dot is not just a blue dot because there's a lot of them. That's dozens, a few. That's someone getting a safe refuge in these times of unknown where they don't know their home's staying or not. So it is a huge thing. So again, let's start with North, where we have a temporary evacuation point where it is S right here. It is our temporary evacuation point that we opened in Siskiyou County in response to, against Slater Fire. And it is at the Karuk Wellness Tribe, a wellness center. We have a shelter here in Ferndale Fairgrounds, and we have a TEP, temporary evacuation point, here in Gridley at the Butte County Fairgrounds. But that's not the whole scope of it, just because of TEPs. There's a lot of hotels, a lot of partners that are involved that are working as well. So that's a little bit about the operation.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And just, a lot of times people think about what the Red Cross does in these type of disasters, and they think of maybe just that shelter or that big congregate shelter. And just for kind of some clarity there, this year, given the pandemic, a lot of what we've done is opt for those hotel options. That's a health and safety measure to make sure people, our people and the clients we're serving, have a place and are we can bring them food, we can bring them all the same services there. We're still on the ground there. And these TEPs, as you mentioned, are these are kind of like it's not a shelter like when we're thinking about the shelter again. It's just a place where we're working with our partners, and we could talk a little bit about that momentarily here. I'm thinking that backing up a little bit more too, Gary, this is not something that just kicked up last week. This region has been dealing with fires now for weeks before even the official start of wildfire season. Just give me an idea, and I could share a few pictures, but give me an idea of how it's going, how you're feeling, how the teams are kind of dealing with this this really just like weeks after weeks of really difficult fires.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right, Justin. This has been going on for us for about a month now, actually, is where we are, where, the first series of fires came through the Northern California area, really started by a lot of lightning strikes that took place, and just caused there to be fire spots just popping up just all over our community. So we have volunteers that come in, we have staff that come in to try to provide the services that the community needs, and we do that, and those needs happen every single day. They happen whether it's Saturday or Sunday or whatever, so there's really no breaks. So we went through about a couple of weeks of that, after which time we thought, hallelujah, we're getting a break here because we're getting some new volunteers to take over, give the first line folks a little bit of a respite. And as soon as we did that, this next series of fires started up. So we're, going into another series of fires. We're not getting much of a rest because the reality is it's not just about us. It's Oregon. You look at what's happening there. They have a need for volunteers and folks to help out there. We have a hurricane that came through a couple of weeks ago down in the Gulf, and now another one that's coming. So there's demands across all of the Red Cross. So it's just causing us to have to hunker down, keep going, and keep doing what we've been doing. And I tell you, the people are tired, but they're tired, but they have an energy about themselves because they're really doing what they want to do. They join the Red Cross as volunteers or as staff because they want to help people, and that's what they're doing now. They're helping people. You talked a little bit about COVID. COVID really makes things different. We have a saying that we've been using for the last several months that says that, our mission hasn't changed, just the way we do it has changed. And Noordan showed all of these hotel spots where we're putting people up. Really changes the dynamic of what it's like to serve folks. When you have people all come together in a congregate shelter, your typical gym where the cots are laid out next to each other, you have our people able to, put their arms around and put a blanket on somebody, really establish that connection with the clients, as well as the clients being able to have a bit of a community of people that are getting these services. In the environment we're in now, we can't do that. You saw those blue dots. Hotels are spread all over the place, so you don't have that same type of community, and it gives a challenge to us in providing services. We don't have the ability to have a feeding line where everybody comes up and you dump some food on their plate and they chat and enjoy each other's company. Instead, we're going from hotel to hotel to hotel, dropping off boxes of food, and just really just a challenging way to do things. The main thing, though, that I would say is if you want to know how things are going, is that it is really, it's kind of poignant, I guess, is the way to look at it. Noordan talked about how paradise is so close, and to hear stories about people who lost everything in paradise, moved a little bit down the hill, and now they're in a place where they've lost everything again. It's just really sad. This thing is ongoing, but we know we're going to get to the point where we start to get pictures of what homes were actually lost through this last series of fires. And when that hits, that is going to be something that is incredibly impactful to the people who have lost their homes. It's going to touch us as well. And that's part of why, one of our big groups of volunteers are our mental health professionals. They'll be there to give people the comfort that they need to get through this next phase of life that they never expected to experience.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought there is, being here from I'm from Wisconsin, being here on the ground, getting a chance to work with there is one of the things that has really been inspiring to me is the fight. There is a lot of fight in people, even people that have been through weeks or even years of fires, including our own volunteers who may have had to evacuate themselves, and yet they're dedicating their time to help others, which is really amazing. Thinking about how that work is happening, we really still are in the kind of response phase, fair to say, right now. And so a lot of the information we're sharing now will be different next week or in a couple days even. We'll continue to share information in lots of ways and get everyone the latest, but thinking about the partners that have helped in this response phase. And if you want to just talk briefly just about a couple of your experiences and why that's so important right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the main things to realize is that we would not be able to do what we do alone, and that's we all know that. And one of the main things that we know is we have a lot of great partners in the North State here. We have a tremendous relationship with the Butte County right now, where one of the bigger fires is burning here in the North Complex. We have a great relationship established with our partners here, but also we have other nonprofit partners who are stepping up to a plate when it's called. There are things that, because we're all resource strained so much, that sometimes we rely on each other, especially with the COVID things going on right now. So when there are times when we call up on them, they're willing to step up to a plate and say, how can we help? How can this community help? So that's been really great. We also have financial partners who have been able to support us through the donations, through assistance, and they've been offering up not just their funds at this moment, also saying, how else can we help? So that's the really, really great thing that we have in this community. Like North Valley Community Foundation just called up and said, hey, we know what you guys are going through. Here's $10,000 for you to help you a little bit. So those are the significant help things that we're seeing. Partners offering food if needed, partners feeding in some areas, mental health support as well. So all of that helps us tremendously, because we know that in this fight, the county would not be able to handle it by itself. We know we would not be able to handle it by itself, and our partners wouldn't be able to do it by themselves. But together, when we come together as a community like we are doing right now, that's what makes our folks successful, and also that's what will put us in a better way to recovery and as a one unit in the community.
Yeah, yeah. And just quickly, I'll share. When you're talking about who, these are just a couple of the people who everyone is rallying around. This is Eugene, him and his wife. She's around the corner in this picture, but she's 4 months pregnant, and at their home in Berry Creek, they're working on the bedroom for their child. And he was talking to one of our storytelling volunteers just about how excited they were to start designing that room, decorating that room, filling it with stuff for the baby that's coming, their first child. And they had to flee Berry Creek, one of the areas in the region here. And they don't really know what the house is going to look like when they get back, if there's going to be a house at all. And Tara here, she has one of the people that we've been able to bring food to, her and her husband, each day, a couple of meals, and as well as help with temporary lodging. And she said she's been so inspired by people rallying around, including the Red Cross, that the first thing she does when she gets back up on her feet is to volunteer and to give her time and talent back. Now Gary, that's nerd, and I'm just teasing you. That's nerding at the. He's constantly, he's got 3 phones there, and so just a little teasing there. But Gary, you want to share, really about coming together. People can come together and really support this mission on the ground. Do you want to just kind of talk a little bit about that while this information's on the screen?
Certainly. What people often forget is that the American Red Cross is a not-for-profit. We have a mandate to provide these services to folks who are victims of disaster, but we don't get paid for that. We have to go out and get donations from a generous community in order to pay for that activity. And what we feel really good about is that we are excellent stewards of the donor dollar. And the way we're able to be excellent stewards is because we have so many volunteers. 95 out of 100 of the staffers that are working on Red Cross services are volunteers, which gets us in a spot where we can be very proud that 90 cents on every dollar goes to providing services as opposed to doing administration and such. So, we're a good way to help out a community. And we're lucky that we have a community that is absolutely generous. Time and time again, every year we know we're going to have wildfires. Every year we're going to have to respond, and we're going to have to go out to the community for help. And the community stands up and gets it done. We're not as wealthy as some communities out there, but people dig deep, and that's what we continue to need you to do. So if you can help out, please go ahead and do that. You can go to redcross.org and click donate. Also, I talked a little bit earlier about the competition for volunteers because there's so many things that are going on across the country, so many responses that our volunteers are going to, that we need more volunteers as well. So once again, you can go to redcross.org and there's a volunteer button that you can click so that you can go and be part of the solution. So we also had the 1-800-RED Cross, which is a way that you can call in to volunteer or to donate. And, push comes to shove, a very simple and easy way for you to give is to text CA Wildfires to 90999. And by doing that, you can make a quick $10 donation. So any way you can help us is going to help the people who really need it, those folks that have been displaced from their homes and, are really trying to grapple with what their next steps are going to be.